Perfection. That's what I've been thinking about after 17 days of watching these athletes from around the world converge in the spot where I used to live and display a sense of physical, emotional, and almost spiritual at times perfection. And I think that's what draws us to people like this. It's that little glimpse of something beyond ourselves, beyond the everyday, beyond the average, whether it's an athlete or a performer, an artist, someone who possesses great beauty, anyone that we might even aspire to call a hero. I think we see that glimmer, that shade, that hint of perfection, just a quick little, hey kids, over here, glimpse of the divine. And at the same time, though we yearn for it, though we covet it, though we worship it, though we chase it and appreciate it, and all other things, we yearn for it ourselves on some level. Whether it's just in how we watch it and how we devote ourselves to the sport we love, or the movies we love, or the celebrities we love, or some aspect of our lives involves perfection, our chasing of perfection. It could be our career, it could be something else, it could be our relationships. And I think back on my life and realize, okay, the first time I maybe glimpsed the idea of perfection, some scale I could climb or scale towards perfection, it was with academics, it was with school. And I saw that if I got good marks, if I studied for a test, if I, pleased my teachers, if I pleased my parents, it yielded rewards. That 100%, that A+, it meant something. It meant that I mattered. So I chased perfection there, and I won many awards and received many accolades and a lot of pieces of paper that said, oh yeah, you're special. But it didn't make me any happier. And so after that, I realized, well, let's look around. Where else can I find perfection? And I saw happiness in the faces of people who were holding hands. In my teens, I could see people and they were at that budding stage of young love. The romantic chemicals were in the air, and it seemed like perfection between these people, just pirouetting around each other in space and in awe of one another. When those lips first touched, it was love, it was perfect. And so I expended so much energy trying to attain perfection in that realm. Whether it was, developing the tools of charm or comedy or, even some degree of charisma and comeliness, it was about connecting with a vast number of people, far too many for a lifetime, enough for 10 lifetimes, more than I deserve. And yet, in the end, was I happier because of it? Not necessarily, no. I'm maybe a better person, I'm a different person, but I was chasing some form of romantic perfection. And in the end, it wasn't real. And so then I moved into my 20s, and I saw people with physical prowess who seemed to command people's energy and their attention and respect. And so I put every ounce of my being into chiseling and shaping and mastering this body for years on end. And yes, I could walk into a room, and there were moments where I could honestly see people were breathless. There were moments where I knew I had my pick of companions, be they as friendship or as lovers or people I had to work with, just because I had mastered this physical form. What they saw in me for a few moments was the use of will to attain a desire, again, a glimmer of perfection. But still, not happiness. And then as you get older, into my 30s, into that realm where all of a sudden you're an adult, right? It's about chasing mastery over your domain, over your little degree of an empire, whatever that may be. So you chase perfection in the career world. I sat at my cubicle, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week, I earned accolades and got bonuses and earned stocks and got some acclaim out in the world. Then I made a series that, ended up reaching millions of people around the world and won more awards and got more money and more acclaim, and that didn't make my life any better. And still, chasing perfection. I see that people put all of their energy into their careers, or into their bodies, or into their relationships, or into attaining things, amassing things, accumulating things. And all I can think now is, on your deathbed, will this make you happy? And more importantly, is this the real perfection that you were seeking, or some faint shadow of it, a blurred reflection of it? And so in the end, what are we left to chase but, in some form or another, spiritual perfection? And now, I'm not necessarily saying dogma here. I'm not saying, okay, we've got to Om 108 times and chant and walk in a circle and pull out a rosary beads and say, hey, nani nani, and I'm so penitent, please forgive me. That's not spiritual perfection. I'd have to go with the ancient Greeks on this one and say that perfection is knowing myself. You know, I don't need to be perfect anymore. I just need to be perfectly me. Now, that might be obvious to all of you. It might not be anything new. But I'm a little slow. At the same time, I'm also perfect.